Hi guys, sorry. We're looking at the 27th of July through to the 4th of August for these events to occur. Now, when the girl drops the apple, it rolls across the ground 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It doesn't get to complete its 8th roll. Why that's interesting to me is because during an eclipse, there are 7 stages: prenumbral, partial, total, maximum, total eclipse ends, partial eclipse ends, and prenumbral eclipse ends. Now this total lunar eclipse blood moon we have coming up on the 27th of July is the longest one we're going to have in a century. At the same time, the planet Mars, or symbolically war, is going to be in opposition and is going to be the closest and brightest it has been to Earth in the last 15 years. I think that's all significant. On the apple we also have a volcano. Now I think that this LC scene is telling us a story of 2 volcanoes. 1, La Cumbre Vieja. 2, Kilauea. Now let me explain. The LC does interpret the lunar calendar, but from a bomber's perspective, or upside down, the L becomes a 7. The 7, I believe, is a representation of July. Then we get onto the C, which from a bomber's perspective is a tsunami wave, but it also is shaped in the same way and has the same kind of color, gives you the indication of a crescent moon. Now if we're looking at the lunar calendar, and this is a crescent moon, then the 15 that's scratched into the ground should tell us that we're looking at a 15, the 15 in the lunar calendar. Well, the 27th of July, when we have the blood moon and Mars at its closest and brightest, is the 15 in the lunar calendar. So there's a couple of things that are connecting there. In reference to La Cumbre Vieja volcano, I think that on the 27th of July, because of the alignment of the moon, Earth and Mars, we're going to have extra gravitational pull on our planet. Maybe something to do with magnetism as well. I think that's going to awaken La Cumbre Vieja, and I think that volcano is going to erupt, and a piece of it, as widely talked about, is going to break off, and it's going to cause this tsunami that we're talking about here. That tsunami is going to affect the east coast of the United States, represented here by the apple, which is a representation of New York, the Big Apple, and it's also going to affect the UK, which is represented here by the pound coin. Sorry about this line that's going across the screen. I think there's a bit more detail it tells us about the UK and the effect the tsunami has on it, with the 7 and either the 1 or the X that's marked on Obama's foot here. If it's a 1 and a 7, it's 17. If it's an X and a 7, it's still 17. So I think this is saying to us the UK is going to be 17 foot under water on the 27th of July, the 15th lunar day. If I would guess a time, just after 3 o'clock in the morning, when most people are sleeping. London has been flooded before at night time, a long time ago, and a lot of people died. If this is the case, then we're looking for an event on the 27th of July connected with the blood moon, which causes a volcano to erupt, generating a tsunami, affecting the UK, maybe 17 foot underwater, also affecting the Big Apple, or the representation, which is the east coast of the United States. Then, when the apple splits open, is when it starts talking about kilauea. Over the last couple of days, I've made a couple of videos. Most of you guys will be aware Now is when it starts talking about the second volcano, Kilauea, 21.8. So 2 seeds, 1, that's 21. In the middle, these roots and the shadow of their roots make up the number 8. In the middle, 21.8 is the date Hawaii received statehood. And obviously the apple is touching Obama's foot, and Obama is from Hawaii. So that tells us it's Kilauea we're now talking about. In particular, the figure 8 goes directly across the split. The split is directly across the middle of the number 8. And that makes me think of Fissure number 8 on the Big Island, which is the most active of the fissures. And I think that it could happen on the same day if this is all connected together, 2 volcanoes on the same day erupting, causing tsunamis on both the east coast, the UK, and the west coast of the United States, obviously also affecting Hawaii and the other countries that surround the Pacific Basin. But if Kilauea doesn't erupt like this at Fissure number 8 on the same day, the 27th of July, then it may be directing us to 21.8 again, so not just giving us the date that Hawaii received statehood and the most active fissure currently erupting on Kilauea, but also leading us to a date which is on the lunar calendar, which would be the 21st lunar day and the 8th month, 21.8. That would be on the 2nd of August. So, just for clarification, on the 27th of July, when the eclipse is happening during the blood moon, La Cumbre Vieja may erupt, causing a tsunami affecting the east coast of the United States and the UK. And that would be the 15th lunar day. And then 6 days later, on the 2nd of August, or the 21st lunar day in the 8th month, Kilauea would erupt, or could be, as I've talked about, a missile into the volcano causing it to erupt, generating a tsunami on the west coast of the United States. The next day is the 3rd of August, which is the 22nd lunar day. You can look at the video and you can interpret the number 22 from the V on Obama's forehead, which is the 22nd letter. But looking at it again just now, if you kind of turn your head sideways, it also could be the number 7, which again, if that is the case, then it could be that this all happens on the same day, the 27th of July. But I digress. I think the 3rd of August is when we see a missile launch of some kind, possibly from North Korea, or Iran, or Russia, or even China. And the reasons for that I've already talked about: the F, the A, the 3, Friday the 3rd of August, which would be a missile launch of some kind. My thoughts lean towards North Korea doing the test that they said they was going to do, the H-bomb. But, you know, there's other culprits, and obviously there's the possibility of the false flag operation as well. So it could be none of these actors. They could just be blamed in order to facilitate the start of World War III. After that, we get on to the 23rd lunar day, which is the 4th of August. That is Obama's birthday. Could be referenced here, the party hat, the D representing the number 4. Obviously, we have Obama in this video. He's the clearest connection to the number 4 and a party that you'll find in this video. So it's possible then that we see the culmination of these events, the submarine attack, the EMP, the blackout, and that's kind of the beginning of what would seem a very long, but what would be a pretty short war. But at the end of it, a new world order will emerge. And for those of us that are still alive, there'll be some more things for us to go through. Excuse me. So I'm not going to get into whether the rapture is going to happen before that or not, because no one knows the day or time, so no one can say to me, oh, it's going to happen before, it's going to happen after. Specifically, that is one of the things that is unknown. So these are all just interpretations from this video. If these volcanoes do start erupting, then there may be some connection to Revelation 8 and the beginning of the trumpets. As you guys seen from my last video, the connections between Trump and his vice president and Trump and his, affiliation with Putin is just a clear reference to trumpets trumpeting. So, I think best to be prepared. Just before I finish the video, the last thing I really want to talk about is this helio font at the end. The large emphasized O. It could be the sun or it could be the moon. It definitely looks like an eclipse, but this little dot seems to be heading towards either the sun or the moon, whichever this circle represents. And it's replicated a couple of times in the video, especially when we go back to the scene in the classroom with the girl on the floor inside of the circle. You've got this thing heading towards it. This girl, I think she also represents not just Eve and Alice, but I think the white dress and her young age, symbolizes virginity. And if that's the case, then it's a virgin inside a circle, which could be the representation of the sun or the moon, depending on how you want to look at it. But if you're thinking about that, then the asteroid Vesta, the virgin goddess of home and hearth, is visible, I think, still maybe up until tomorrow, and then it's no longer going to be visible due to the glare of the sun. So the fact that it's still going to be around on the 27th of July, I don't know if it could be affected by the alignment of the Earth, Moon and Mars, and if that could cause it to change its trajectory. Again, these are just interpretations, but we're having some rare events going on, a lot of things coinciding. It seems to all begin with this blood moon, the longest one, and Mars, which may have some geological effect on our planet, not just with volcanoes and tsunamis, but also with asteroids. So be watchful. As I say, I don't know if it's going to happen. If it does happen, I don't know exactly the time, but my best guess is the 27th of July, 3 o'clock in the morning. Look out for La Cumbre Vieja and any tsunamis approaching the East Coast and the United Kingdom. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.